From Lalate News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings Lalate.
It's a big morning on Mornings Lalate, and I'm back with exciting great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021 today. In this recording, we'll go over that monthly stimulus check and what happened in LA that signals that you may be getting more months of checks. Then we cut to the recon and why that recon is giving fortunes, no less than $3.5 trillion of checks to the American people. I'll go over what some of those other checks are. And then we turn to the exciting details about the voting, the bills, the vote, and for the first time ever in this recording, I'm going to have a personal message early on about the voting process. Then we cut to FIST stimulus, which raises your benefits up a lifetime, especially if you're a VA, SSI, and STI. And what did Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, say yesterday about these numbers? It's incredible great news. Then we turn to the thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars that viewers continue to get, like Nisi, who got $23,000 from this channel. It's your big day to get that money as well. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the coffee is brewing. Let's get to it. It's a big morning of Mornings Lalate. How are you? Congratulations. You made it to the weekend. You deserve it. We all deserve a weekend. How's the weather where you are? It got cooler here. It's still a little bit warm, but got cooler. Our nights are wonderful. How's the weather where you are? Jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from. And how's the weather? In this fourth stimulus check recording of 2021, we're going to go over those monthly stimulus checks and what happened in LA overnight that signals there'll be potentially be more checks. Then we turn to the recon. And where in that $3.5 trillion for the American people will there be money for you? A lot of it. I'll go over some of the money for you as well. Then we cut to the voting process. And for the first time ever in this recording, I'll also insert and update a personal message at the front of this video about the voting process, the bills, and everything you need to know about next week. It's getting very exciting. And then we turn to FIST stimulus, and that lays up of your benefits if you're on SSI to VA. More money, more benefits, higher inflation. I'll explain what Jay Powell said. It's getting exciting. And then we turn to the thousands of dollars of viewers continue to get. $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 like Nisi, who got $23,000 from this channel. And this is LA, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. Live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up this afternoon, our new shows on afternoons and evenings LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Next up, 1 million. 400,000 in 1 year. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's get right into the breaking news starting right now with what LA County said overnight. Oh, boy. LA County overnight reversed the mask mandate formally. I had told you about a week and a half ago that LA County was saying, hey, maybe we'll start to slightly reverse the mask mandate. We're all back to normal. We're back to pandemic levels now in LA County. Must wear a mask indoors. This is huge because yesterday, a Republican on the Senate and House committees interviewing Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, said, well, we're still in the pandemic. There you go. Pandemic plus 1 year House bill from Jim Jalapal now looks totally different. And let's go to the payouts. House bill, $1,000 a month after the first month. Senate amount monthly unknown. But word on the street is it's this. Deliciousness. $2,000 over 6 months, $12,000. Or $1,400 over 6 months, $8,400. Everything just sort of changed very quickly. 2 weeks ago, I was saying, well, the legislators may contend the pandemic's not over. Then 1 week ago, I said, LA looks like they're starting to reverse the mask mandate and saying the pandemic's not over. Warren Buffett said the pandemic's not over. Then a GOP leader yesterday saying the pandemic's not over. And then finally, the pandemic is definitely not over. LA County says, put your mask back on when you're indoors. Here we go. So suddenly, when you're looking at the House bill versus the Senate proposal, the House bill looks quite different than it would have looked 2 weeks ago. No longer a question of whether the pandemic is or isn't over. The question is, which one do you like? House bill would be more than 12 checks, which would be more than $13,000. Compare that to this. I think you have an opinion. Jump in the live chat right now and vote House or Senate. House or Senate, tell me where you're tuning in from. And how's the weather? Vote House or Senate right now. I want to see you in the live chat. Things change very quickly, and that's why you got to stay with me, because the news cycle is really changing very quickly throughout this week. Who gets his fourth stimulus check? Democrats represent that if you got a third stimulus check, they want you to have a fourth stimulus check. Single individual, 75,000 or less, Democrats want you to have a fourth stimulus check. Married couple, 150,000 or less, Democrats represent they want you to have a fourth stimulus check. Double it. Family of four, Democrats represent they want you to have a fourth stimulus check. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, or others, Democrats represent they want you to have a fourth stimulus check. The fourth stimulus check would be not income. It's not taxable. The fourth stimulus check would be the same amount for everyone. And the fourth stimulus check would not come in waves. But if you do see the check at happy hour tonight, and the check is doing something that looks like a pear dance, it's a little bit wavy as that pear dance. It's just not dancing. It's just wavy. Too much of the happy hour indulgence. Hey, Chuck, how you doing? You're a little wavy. Oh, too wavy. There's the other theory about this. You can get a little bit in celebratory during happy hour. So then you see multiple stimulus checks. The Democrats represent that the fourth stimulus check would land in the month of July for the month of July, and in the month of August for the month of August. And they also represent that they were going to be final vote by July 4th, but they didn't get it done. In the third part of this video, we'll be going over the voting process, and we'll also go over the bills and everything you need to know. In the second part of this video, we'll be going over the recon, and we'll be going over all that other sums of money. But for the very first time on Mornings LA, I'm inserting a personal message right at the front, and it's right now. This morning, I turned on one of my favorite financial news channels. It had one of my favorite financial news analysts on air. And he was interviewing a person from one of the number 3 newspapers in the nation. What did they say during the discussion? My favorite anchor said, well, the bipartisan is paid for by corporate taxes. I wanted to take my food and throw it at the TV. The bipartisan is not paid by corporate taxes. That's the recon. Then what did the news reporter say? The news reporter then said, well, the president's proposing 35% corporate tax rate. No, he's not. Where is this coming from? We had 2 very esteemed, very well-beloved people that I adore talking on news and getting everything butchered. The wrong bill with the wrong provision and the wrong rates. Here's the other problem at hand, is that viewers or Americans who want to know the latest update are watching these things and getting wrong information, getting totally confused. In the last 24 hours, there was a series of people who slid into some of the comments, not trying to be negative. They're just confused, saying that Chuck Schumer said there will be a vote on, some people say it's the recon, some people say it's the bipartisan, next week, and that we're done, and we get checked then. Chuck Schumer never said that. Let me explain what Chuck Schumer said. Chuck Schumer said that next Tuesday, he will have a cloture vote on the bipartisan. Cloture? What is that? Is that thing that I got when I was once at the beach and I got a rash for and I put an ointment on? It was horrible. It's a horrible cloture. No, no, it's not a rash. Cloture is a procedural vote. A cloture vote for the bipartisan means that Chuck Schumer is basically saying, finish or zip it. It's sort of the embodiment of the purple power. A cloture vote means that he will end discussions on the bipartisan under the cloture vote. He's trying to have a vote to determine when the bipartisan efforts should be closed, meaning the cloture will determine the procedure by which the bipartisan will proceed. And that will close the discussion of the bipartisan at a particular date. It's our version of the purple power saying, just do it, zip it, stop talking and get it done. That's what Chuck Schumer's basically doing. It's not a vote on the bipartisan, on the substance. It's nothing to do with the recon. And it's basically saying, get the bipartisan done by a certain date. Otherwise, it will no longer be an issue. Here's what you need to know, is that it's likely not to pass the cloture vote because the Republicans have already come out and said, we're not done. We don't have a bill written yet for the bipartisan. We won't be done by Tuesday. And you know we're not being done for Tuesday, so you sort of strong arm us. But what's important for me to put this at the front of this video is for you to understand that there's really inaccurate reporting out there by broadcast media. And on the other hand, there's people who simply hear a word vote, and then they say, oh, there's a vote, and there's a bill, and there's a check, and we're done. No, that's not what that vote is about next week. And I understand it's Congress, it's very confusing. And I'll explain more about it for you later in this video. But first, here's a preview of the second half of this video. It's FIST stimulus, and FIST stimulus will raise your benefits up a lifetime with a new benchmark. Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, testified on Capitol Hill yesterday, explaining the details of how the high that inflation rate is going to go. I have all that exciting news coming up later in this video. But let's get a pen and paper ready because it's time for some money. You have been killing it. I have been saying that the rent of this channel is about $5,000, but you have been getting a lot more. If you got a rent from this channel, post in the live chat right now. If you got utilities, post in the live chat right now. If you got Snap, post in the live chat right now. The numbers are absolutely incredible. Viewers are now getting upwards of $20,000 of rent because of the videos of this channel. I've been saying it's about $5,000 of rent. Viewers like Nisi getting $20,000. When we turn to utilities, I've been saying I can get you about $300 for utilities. Viewers are getting $3,000 for utilities this week. When we talk about Snap, I've been saying viewers are getting $5,000 to $6,000 of Snap. Now viewers like John are getting $12,000 for Snap. What's going on? This is what this channel does. I give people money. In April of last year, people were not getting the EIDL grant, so I launched this channel. Not to track the EIDL grant. It was not trackable. It was not coming. I got it, and I got a lot of it, $25 million of it for viewers across the channel. And then in fall of 2020, the second stimulus was not being passed. It had not gone to a vote. There was nothing to track a stimulus check on the second stimulus. It had not gone out. But I got viewers $250,000 for rent. I got people to cash checks. And viewers like Tyrone got $15,000 from this channel for his family of 5. But the difference this time around is you. You have been incredible. Let's go over that big money, because if you've not gotten this money, or if you've gotten one sum of money, I want you to get it right now. Get a pen and paper ready. And I'm going to go over all the big money you can get. Different places have different eligibility. If you reach out to one, it says no, reach out to the next. Also, do not consider not putting yourself in the discussion because you say, I don't know if I qualify. Apply, apply, apply. All right, you're ready? You can reach out to 6 places. Your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. Your state hall, your state house authority. The key words I'm going to go over in a second. You're getting rent because of COVID, mortgage, utilities, or homeowners utilities. So the key words you say when you reach out to them is rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words they don't know, like a stimulus or muddled purple. There's nothing muddling about purple. So we don't see that. They don't know that. I don't know that. There's nothing muddling here. And there you go. Congratulations to Tim and Linda who got this wonderful pot of money for rent. The next pot of money is Snap. If you got rent, post in the live chat. If you got Snap, post in the live chat right now. John got $12,000 for Snap. Glenn got it for her son, her mom, and also herself. And Gail got it as well. What is Snap? It is money for food. How do you get it? Department of Agriculture. How much does it pay? A fortune. A family of 4 in Hawaii gets upwards of $16,000 a year. Wow, why so much money? Because of 2 wonderful executive orders, one from Biden, one from Trump, that raised everyone's benefits up between now and December 15%. So go get it. You're killing it. $15,000, $60,000 for Snap, $5,000 for rent, and we're only 13 minutes of this video. I got more money for you right now, and it's the money coming back from your states due to overpayment of unemployment benefits and a computer error. The federal government has ordered that money returned to you. How much? Where? One of you got $3,000, the other of you got $5,000 in the last few days. Where? Direct deposit. When? Reach out to your state and say, hey, state, where's that money due to overpayment of unemployment benefits? And can you track it with a computer that actually works this time? And finally, the refund check back from IRS, and I have an update about this, breaking news as well. Margaret got it, Cod got it, Michael got it, but IRS gave an update for those of you who haven't gotten it. Another wave just went out. The average refund check is $1,265. Wow. The direct deposits started July 4th. The delivered by paper checks started July 16th, and they will be coming week after week, more refunds all throughout the summer. How much is this? Where, when, and how? First, let's say you had $9,000 of unemployment benefits. You paid $5,000 of taxes, of which $4,000 was your taxes on unemployment benefits. Congratulations, you came back $4,000. Where? Direct deposit, otherwise in the mail. When? Do a transcript search. Go to irs.gov and do a transcript search. And when you go in there, 70% of the time it works. It'll reveal stuff that you never knew. It'll reveal stuff that you don't want to know. You don't want anyone else to know either. It'll reveal the tax return you filed, the taxes you paid. It'll reveal, the White House muddle all the time? Is it just muddling teal blue every day there? It'll reveal, does the color wheel, does it go on electric vehicles as well? and revealed the tax return refund check you're getting. Wow, can we top that? We can, as we go into the second part of your fourth stimulus check update of 2021, starting right now. So here we are. The fourth stimulus recon is now passable. And for the first time, really, I want to make very clear today is that the fourth stimulus recon has been ostensibly passed as to number, but not as to details. What's going on? On Tuesday, the Senate Democrats met and convened, and while they didn't vote, they informally agreed that they have now passed the price tag. The price tag, not the substance, but the price tag on the recon. The price tag on the recon has now ostensibly been passed at $3.5 trillion. Now what they have to do is agree upon the principles and pass the entire thing as a whole part. That recon became passable 3 weeks ago when they took roads and bridges out of the recon. Before that, the roads and bridges were in the recon. It was an enormous thing, and that's all we had. But what did they do? They asked the Democrats, would you agree upon that recon with roads and bridges back in there 3 weeks ago? No, they did not. So they said, take the roads and bridges out and shrink the recon, and we'll agree to it. And they did. They shrunk the recon. Making the recon what it is today, $3.5 trillion, it is now passable, and they've agreed upon the number. The recon is now smaller. And what's important for you to understand is that we had that confirmation from a conservative publication. Conservative publication said that the price tag, the higher the price tag was on the recon, the harder it was to pass. Obviously, confirming my reporting. Now it's been agreed upon at a $3.5 trillion price tag. We're done. By allowing the Democrats to take out some of the spending of the bipartisan, it made the overall number of the recon get smaller. It did. It's at $3.5 trillion, and that's what the Senate Democrats have agreed upon now. In other words, the bipartisan deal made the recon passable. Sorry to set you up, Mitch. Sorry about that. Now, here's what's different, is that the second part of this quote, which is about a week-old quote away, it talked about why the GOP should not support the bipartisan, the roads and bridges. But that's changed because everyone in the Republicans love the bipartisan. That's coming up later in this recording. They adore it. They're celebrating it. So here's something you really need to understand as we go forward, is that the recon and the bipartisan, while those are two words that are easy to remember, are suddenly getting multiple names because the White House thinks they're either nightclubs or pop singers, and they need to keep on changing the names. So let me go over the names so you understand which one is which. Recon, your money, is also called reconciliation, is also called the budget bill, is also called anything with a $3.5 trillion price tag. So if you see a $3.5 trillion price tag, that's your thing. It's also whenever you see a quote from Bernie Sanders, that's the recon, or Jalopal, or any or Tim Kaine type person. Bipartisan has other names. It's also called roads and bridges. It's also called infrastructure. If you see a price tag, it's the $1.5 trillion, the smaller one. If you see people quoted, it's a Kristen Sinema for the Democrats, it's a Mitt Romney for the Republicans, or Lisa Murkowski. Now, the great news was that once they had shrunk the recon, the progressives were able to add things back in there. 2 weeks ago, I said to you, progressives are adding back things in there. And now I have confirmations they did. And that brought us to the $3.5 trillion price tag. The progressives has said that they wanted a massive recon. Well, they got it, as I told you they would. Representative Ilhan Omar said that we have a commitment that regardless of what happens to the bipartisan, we will get a recon that goes as far as we want. And they did. $3.5 trillion. The progressives are ecstatic about the $3.5 trillion price tag for the recon. Representative Richie Torres said that I will refuse to vote on the bipartisan unless we get a large enough recon. He got it. $3.5 trillion. And the progressives have been meeting with the White House daily to make sure that the recon was big enough. They got it at $3.5 trillion. So success right there. Now, they were protecting the recon over the weeks before that, as Jalopal had confirmed, and Brian Schatz, Democrat of Hawaii, because the White House had considered the progressive priorities their own priorities in the recon. What is a recon? And what's going on? And how do we see the details? And when do we see the details? Let me explain. A recon is also what's called a reconciliation bill. It's written in this case by Democrats, for Democrats, to be passed by Democrats. Who writes it? It's written by House subcommittees. Under the Constitution, different House subcommittees are delegated different tasks. House Ways and Means governs stimulus checks and unemployment. In this case, the House subcommittees are taking the lead on the writing, but the Senate subcommittees are also overseen. When they're all done, then they put their stuff together. But here's what you need to know before they're done. Under the Constitution, there's no requirement that the House subcommittees or the Senate subcommittees show you what they're doing. So they don't have to show you what they're writing, putting in, taking out, or voted on. They don't have to show you. Later in this video, you can see me reveal to you that there is no revelation of what's in the recon until you see the recon. And there's no time or place to say, I haven't heard, because no one's heard. Broadcast media is very clear that the Democrats don't want you to see what's in the recon. Nothing negative about it. They just want to debut it with a sort of a publicity event. So you will not see what's in the recon. How does this work? Well, let's say there's 10 subcommittees and they're doing 10 pages. When those 10 pages are done, they send them up to whether it's Nancy or Chuck. If it's Nancy, it's an H. If it's Chuck, it's an S. And they put it together, and then of those 10 subcommittees with 10 pages, you got a 100-page bill done, ready for a vote. Well, how do we get to this wonderful spot? We got to this wonderful spot by Jalapal, who had written Schumer saying, call the vote, Chuck, on the recon. That letter was signed by 12 House Democrats who were among the 100-plus who had said to the president, we're going to be putting monthly stimulus checks in the fourth stimulus package. Wow, 100 of them. That's a lot. Can we top that? Yes, 7 members of the House Subcommittee, House Ways and Means, which I just went over, wrote the president a letter saying, we're going to be putting monthly fourth stimulus checks in the fourth stimulus recon when we write it. Wow. Now, can we top that? Yeah, they say they're putting fifth stimulus recon checks into the fifth stimulus next fall as well. You got to push Purple Power because this is a promise they've made to us. You have to hold them to that promise. Can we top that? We can. As it's now official today, all across broadcast media, they were talking about this morning. The global minimum corporate tax rate is now law. A ceremonial signature occurred about 3 weeks ago, but it became a law yesterday or this week. And that raises the corporate tax rate internationally. Why is this great news? They don't need to put it into the recon because it's in the international agreement. It makes it easier to write the recon. It makes it easier to call the vote on the recon. It makes it easier to vote on the recon, and it makes it easier to pass the recon. Wow, can we top that? We can. As we go into the final 15 minutes, the most important 15 minutes you'll hear this morning anywhere in broadcast media on financial news about the fourth stimulus recon. As I go through the vote, the bills, the lack of bills, whether there's a bill, which vote, what type of vote, what's being voted on, and how it's being voted on, all next week. It's super detailed, and it's important for you to stay with the details because I understand this is a legislator, and unless you listen to all the details, it can get stumbling, but I'm going to make it very easy for you to follow. Then we turn to fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up like SSI and VA, based upon that new inflationary benchmark, but is there something more wonderful than that? Yes, the volunteers. If you've had problems getting that rent, that utilities, that internet, and you're watching the people in the live chat post it, don't worry. If you're in the live chat, please post your success stories. When you post it, 1, it inspires other people to get it. Number 2, it inspires other people to get other sums of them. So if one person got rent but didn't get 3 items like Art Sullivan who got 3, it inspires them to get the other sums of money. Next, it gives updates to people about how much the money is. So consider reaching out to the volunteers if you're having problems getting this money. How do you find the volunteers? Open the description of this video. Go down, you'll see an emoji of a house, not Nancy's. Click the link, it'll send you over the community page, news.la.com/community. It has a picture of some kitty cats, not Nancy's. Lower on the page are the volunteers. Reach out to them to help you get rent, utilities, internet, homeowners assistance like mortgage and utilities. And here's a little bit about the volunteers. I'll be back in 60 seconds with the final 15 of this breaking news report on Mornings LA. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA Live Daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LA at 9 a.m. Lalate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons Lalate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. The toast is toast and the butter is butter, and I'm here, you're here, and the trolls are banned. Bye, Hal. Goodbye. My fingers were fast during the commercial break. In the second half of this fourth stimulus check update of 2021, we'll go over the exciting details of what's happening next week for your fourth stimulus. We'll go over what Chuck is calling the vote on and what he's not calling the vote on. We'll go over the bills, the dates, and everything you need to know. We'll be cutting the fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up if you're on SSI and SSA and VA, and more. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, fastest growing community on the globe. Next stop, 1 million. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. The link's at the top of the chat in the pinned comment. Coming up this afternoon, new shows on Afternoons Lalate and Evenings Lalate. Let's get right into fifth stimulus. And the exciting details of raising up your benefits under fifth stimulus would start this fall. The drafting of it would start in September. And the finality of it would go to a vote around October, November. This is something that viewers have been waiting for since last year. Raising your benefits up a lifetime, then removing the asset limit, adding inflation benchmark, then removing the income exclusion, and removing the marriage penalty. How does this work, and what did Jay Powell say yesterday? First, they'll raise your benefits up a lifetime. Who's you? You, if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, or survivor benefits, or multiple benefits. Then, in the fall, they apply a benchmark, like they always do, for next year's benefits. The new benchmark, inflation. And that would raise your benefits up based upon that inflation rate. Well, what did Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, say on Capitol Hill yesterday and the day before? The same thing he said last month. Thank goodness. He said that he thinks that inflation is still going up and will reach its highest point when they apply the benchmark for your benefits. Wow. He thinks that the highest rate of inflation will be around that time. This is huge. What did he also say? He gave us an inflation rate for later this year. He never gives a high inflation rate. He can't, because it will scare the markets. But what did broadcast media say yesterday on Wall Street? They said my inflation rate. They think it's going to go to 5% around that time, around November, December. This is huge. Because first they'll raise your benefits up. And if the inflation rate is 5%, your benefits will be raised up 5%. Not just next year, lifetime. Then they'll apply, and if the inflation rate the year after that is 2%, then you'll be at +2, +5%. It's incredible, great news. Then they'll remove the asset cap, dating back to a 1980s law that says you can't stay on benefits and have more than $3,000 in hand. Now you'll be able to have stimulus checks and some room for some tacos. They'll remove the income cap, dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work and stay on benefits. And finally, the marriage penalty is going to go away. Love is going to win, and you'll be able to marry your longtime love interest. You'll no longer fear a loss of benefits, and you'll be able to get married like Rob and Sandy and no longer fear the marriage penalty. There you go. Now, the president has also indicated as to fifth stimulus that he has dedicated $1 billion to Social Security Administration before the firing of Commissioner Saul. This will ensure all your benefits checks and stimulus checks go out on time. If you're missing a first, second, or third stimulus check, you need to do two things. File a tax return, and on the tax return, request it on a particular line item. If you haven't done that, go to a tax preparer. And finally, boy, if you're in the live chat and you're looking, you say, hey, there's a lot of people with purple hawk emojis. They're getting those sums of money. I haven't gotten mine at all. Then consider becoming a member. Daily, I deliver to viewers as members a breakdown of all the big monies in the third stimulus. In December 2020, some people were saying, hey, where's my $600 stimulus check? I said, good, I'm going to get you $6,000. And I did. I got viewers a fortune under second stimulus because I told them the other sums of money that are available in the second stimulus. Now I'm doing the same with third stimulus. Viewers are getting $20,000 from this channel, $23,000, $15,000, $12,000 daily. Not just a $1,400 third stimulus check. Consider becoming a member so you learn about all this big money that's available for you under third stimulus. And it's happening also under fourth stimulus. $3.5 trillion for you. Not just a stimulus check. And I'm going to go over those details starting right now. First, let's go over what you need to understand going into this afternoon. Number one, There's two items of legislation you absolutely have to keep track and distinctly separate from one another. The reconciliation budget bill, 3.5 trillion, is your money. Money for the American people, checks for the American people, $3.5 trillion of checks for the American people about various subject matters. The other item is the bipartisan, also called the infrastructure, 1.5 trillion for roads and bridges. You have to keep those separate because if you don't, it gets very confusing. Let's go to what is happening with next week. Chuck Schumer said yesterday that next week he will call on Tuesday a vote not on the recon, but a vote on the closing of discussion on the bipartisan. Not a vote on the bill of the bipartisan, not a vote on the substance of the bipartisan, but an ending of the discussion and the debate on the bipartisan. It's likely not to pass because they want to still talk about it. But it is sort of a strong arm approach, as a viewer would probably like. Can you just stop talking about it and get it done? It's very important. So that is what Chuck Schumer said about that. So where is the recon? Let's first do the recon. The great news, historically great news, as Bernie Sanders said in his own words, was that on Tuesday, the Senate Democrats effectively passed the price tag. The price tag is 3.5 trillion. The way they do a recon is they first agree upon the price tag. Doesn't need a vote, just needs a caucus meeting of Senate Democrats. And they met and they agreed among them, essentially passed the price tag of the recon, 3.5 trillion. So what do they have to do now? They have to put the amounts of different items to different provisions in the recon and then call it for a vote. Here's what I said earlier in the video, but I want to make clearer right now, is that they will not show you what's in the recon until it's actually ready for a vote. So there's no time or place to say, I haven't heard. Guess what? No one's heard because they don't want you to know. They do not want you to know negativity of the situation. They don't want you to know because they want it to be a very big media blitz when it's done. Ultimately, we do know some of the things that are in there. Wait a second, how do we know some of the things that are in there? Because a conservative publication thought that they would run an article that would be basically a negative piece, saying, oh, that recon has stuff in there for the American people they shouldn't have been getting. So that was the attitude of the article. It was not supposed to be an exhaustive list. So here are some of the items in the recon, not all of them. And let's go over some of the checks that are in the recon that a conservative publication said you shouldn't be getting. Again, not an exhaustive list. Checks for school meals, checks for tax breaks, checks for prescription medication, checks for immigration, checks for farming, checks for the election reform, checks for free internet. They want to give fortunes to the cities so that you would get free internet from your cities. Checks for clean energy, and then checks for workers and unions and independent contractors, and then checks to provide coverage for dental, vision, and hearing aid care for certain elderly people, and also for extension of Medicare. There you go. The price tag was historic in two regards. One, because it was done. As Senator Tim Kaine, who is VP running mate with Hillary, said it's a big step when they agree upon the price because all they have to do is slide in and put the amounts to the provisions that they want to do. Number two, the price tag is enormous. The price tag is enormous. That's why Chuck, Bernie, and Nancy and all these other people praised the price tag. The progressives got exactly what they want. Let's go then to the bipartisan. Where is the bipartisan? The great news about the bipartisan is, one, the Republicans love it. Mitch loves it and keeping his mouth quiet. Mitt loves it. Lisa Murkowski loves it. They love it. So what did they say this week? They said they set a self-imposed deadline of yesterday to agree upon the provisions of what would be in the bipartisan. They said even if they didn't get it done by yesterday, they'll get it done by the end of this week. This is so that they can agree upon which roads and bridges are in the roads and bridges bipartisan. It's huge because then it sets up the ability to finish the bill and call it for a vote. They also say that they think the vote could be on the bipartisan as early, the bill, not what Chuck's talking about, what they're talking about, as early as next week. Now, the comments from Kristen Sinema also is productive. Lisa Murkowski says she's ecstatic. Mitt Romney says we're getting it done. Here's my opinion of the situation. And mainstream media's, middle-of-the-road media is saying they think that the bipartisan will likely go to a vote in 2 weeks, or if not next week. Well, here's the great news for you, is remember, the recon has to go for a vote before the bipartisan. So even if the bipartisan goes for a vote in 2 weeks, the recon could go for a vote as early as next week. Really exciting, great news. All right, with that, let's go to the next thing you need to know. Voting and also pushing. It's important to understand that as we near these final days, it reminds us of December 2020. In December 2020, there was a budget bill called a continuing resolution. You're not supposed to have stimulus and continuing resolution. Guess who came up with the idea that we put stimulus and continuing resolution? I did. From this channel and from my videos, I solely came up with the idea. And I said to the viewers, push to put stimulus in the continuing resolution. It was just a few days away from when it was due. We pushed, and then they said, yes, we'll put it in there. And then they came back and said, congratulations, there's unemployment stimulus. We said, wait a second, that's not what we were talking about, although we like it. We were talking about stimulus checks. And we pushed, and they got it in there. What's important to remember is that this was a very short time frame. It was no less than 14 days. It was very, very quick, and they got it in there. These final 14 days, potentially, are very important for us. Why? Because when you look at the recon and you have an agreement upon the price of $3.5 trillion, Democrats each have their own pet projects. One may have a pet project for the cows and the farmers. Another may have a pet project for Medicare expansion. Our pet project is us. Our pet project is us and our money. So you need to push in these final 14 days because Democrats can take something out, put it back in, raise it up, or lower it down. If you were with me in December 2020, we sometimes literally had the news changing every 2 hours. The stimulus check went up. The stimulus check went down. The stimulus check went multiple. The stimulus check included this person. It did include that person. It did include that person. They were literally changing by the hour. They're fighting for the use of the $3.5 trillion amongst themselves, and you need to fight as well. So call up your Democratic senators, call up your progressives and say, hey, I need this in there. Express to them your professional opinion why the money is needed in there. Ultimately, it's important to understand it's not a time to hold up your hand and hold that donut and say, I just want to know when it's in my bank account. You need to push because this is what this channel does, and we push very well. Next, it's important to understand the voting process. 12 steps, not necessarily 12 days because of 3 bills. Reconciliation, substantive, reconciliation, procedural, and bipartisan. Subcommittee of the House, Subcommittee of the Senate, Senate floor, House President. 12 steps, 4 times 3, does not take 12 days, but they got to get it done. And ultimately, until we get to the edge of the finish line, you need to keep on pushing across the board. I really appreciate all your support, and I also appreciate all your encouragement. You need to push Purple Power because the final days are upon us. Ultimately, it's important to stay on message because I understand in a day like this where I turned on the TV and I saw my favorite broadcast reporter getting confused on this bill with that bill, saying corporate taxes on that one when it's the other one, where people are seeing the cloture vote for the calling of end of discussion on the bipartisan and saying it's the vote on the recon. People are getting very confused. I hopefully made it very clear for you in this video. If I didn't, I'm back with you with more videos throughout the day. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers is a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video, 3,000 likes, and it also delivers a side of garlic. And consider becoming a member. The toast is toasted and the butter is buttery. By becoming a member, you get access to all the big money that's in third stimulus. I want you to get all this big money. I'll be back with you with new shows this afternoon on Afternoons LA and new shows on Evenings LA. And I look forward to seeing you throughout the day on this channel. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.